all of those issues, especially with it when it comes to Black people and culture, growing up, people, they want the nice clothes, they want to go clubbing, they want to look the part, regardless of what that cost. Whether that's, when I say how much it costs you, I'm not just talking about financially, I'm talking about emotionally, psychologically, because yes, you can buy that with your salary, but then for the rest of the month, you're broke. So how much does that cost you emotionally, psychologically, the stress and the anxiety? Anything that costs you your mental health is too expensive.
You are now part of a social experiment. See now where my limit is, only got no.
Thank you for joining us today on the journey towards self-mastery. Our next guest has over 17 years experience as a psychotherapist, 20 years experience in the financial sector, and is author of Think Like a Bank. She has helped hundreds of people clear large amounts of debt while easing their anxiety about money and debt. Her goal is to empower individuals with financial knowledge, helping them gain financial freedom. Let's welcome today Miss Norma Cassius to the program. Norma, it is a pleasure having you on. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing very well, thank you. And how are you?
I am doing excellent. Just finished your book, actually, and it was definitely an easy read, which I think is very important when talking about financial information, because a lot of us, start out very limited with knowledge of financial literacy. I actually looked at data like globally for financial literacy, and it stated that only 1/3 of people around the world are actually financially literate. And I would say it might be even less than that. That might be a generous number. But it's not a lot of people that have financial literacy skills or understand finances. And I think when you are documenting these things and writing about it, it has to be very, very simple, like almost like you're talking to a child, because we don't have that type of information. So, so hopefully we can keep it simple today, and we can get some really good gems on finances. One of the first things that comes to mind really is purpose, really. Like you've been studying money for a while and financial literacy for a while, doing your money management business and everything, along with psychotherapy. So my thoughts would be, like, for you personally, like, what is kind of the purpose of money for you, and how should we be thinking about it?
For me, money is it's a tool or a medium that we use for goods and services, to buy and to sell. Back in the day when there wasn't money, they used to barter using whatever they had, right? Whether that was cattle, whether it was gold or whatever, in exchange for something, i.e. goods or services. And that's basically, in a nutshell, just to simplify what money is. What money is to me, I guess, it is all of that. But I feel that, money, and people talk about wealth all the time. And from a psychological perspective, what does that mean? Wealth for me doesn't just mean finances. It means spiritual wealth, emotional wealth, physical wealth. Because, people can be rich as anything, but suffer from depression, suicidal. These are the clients that I work with. Their health isn't in a good place. Do you know what I mean? And so when I talk about money, I talk about it holistically. When I talk about wealth, I talk about it holistically. And the most important thing about money is having financial peace.
What does that mean exactly to you, at least?
Right. So a good question, right? So as I said, a lot of people have money. I work with where I work in London, on a street called Harley Street, which is the renowned medical district of the world. So it's where all the rich and famous go to get any medical procedure done, from plastic surgery to psychotherapy. And I work with people that earn high net worth people earning a lot of money, but yet they have no financial peace, because it's not about the money. If you have a problem, say like a physical problem, before having this money, the money is not going to take it away. You might be able to obviously get better health support for that illness, but it doesn't eliminate it. If you have depression or if you have relationship issues, the money may be able to soothe it a bit, but it does not take away the issue. So having financial peace is being at peace with what you have, regardless of what your situation is.
Great points right there. So money does not make you happy, huh?
It doesn't. It helps. It can help towards happiness, but ultimately it does not make you happy. No.
I mean, I know you work with probably rich people, poor people, different classes of people. Do you find that they have the similar money issues in regards to their psychology about money across rich, poor?
Absolutely, because it's not, as I said, it's really not about the money. Whether you're on benefits or whether you're a banker, whatever you have, whatever money income you have coming in, you live that lifestyle, right? So if you're on benefits, you're going to the cheapest supermarkets, you're buying whatever your money can afford. From the other end of the scale, if you're a banker, you're earning all this money, your children are going to the top schools, costing how much money per term. You're living in the best houses, you're driving the top of the range cars, you are living that lifestyle. So you're using your money up to the penny, right? And that's the issue. People, not spending more than they earn a lot of the time. And for the people that are high net worthers, that earn a lot of money, their status is so important to them that they would rather commit suicide than to feel the shame and embarrassment of losing all what they've got or living a less than lifestyle.
Man, that is really fascinating, because I think a lot of poorer people or people that don't have money think that as you accumulate money, your money problems will go away. You're going to be happier. You're not going to be stressed out about money. And you're saying, from what you see from people, that's not the case. That is interesting.
I mean, just think about it, right? What about people that win the lottery?
Mm-hmm.
That's a prime example. It's clearly not about the money, right? Because they have this money now that they've never had before, but they are spending that money like water. And statistically, they say people that win the lottery, a lot of them, a large percent, 70% of them go broke within 5 to 7 years.
Yeah, that. Do you think that's more so because of lack of financial literacy?
Lack of financial literacy, and also their mindset, because anything to do with money is 80% is about mindset and it's 20% about money. So whether you're rich or you're poor, it's all about mindset, your belief system.
Fascinating. All right. So you are based in the UK, and I just want to get some context just for, our audience in the United States, in terms of what you are seeing in the UK with people and how they're dealing with money. I think we kind of get a good understanding with the United States. It's a capitalistic society. People, value money at a high level. People, like you mentioned, spend more than what they have. And a lot of us are about people pleasing and buying fancy things and nice stuff. And even if we can't afford it, things like that. That's what I see around the United States. And specifically for Black people, it's a lot of those similar things as well, like buying things you can't afford, expensive cars, expensive clothes, jewelry, sneakers, and not being able to afford necessities like housing and investing and saving and things like that. So do you find that those are the same issues that exist in the UK and even specifically amongst Black people?
What you've just described are socioeconomic factors. So, do you know what I mean? All the demographics of where you live, your environment, where, the environment that you've come from, your culture, your religion, all of those issues, especially when it comes to Black people and culture, growing up, people, they want the nice clothes, they want to go clubbing, they want to look the part, regardless of what that cost. Whether that's, when I say how much it costs you, I'm not just talking about financially, I'm talking about emotionally, psychologically, because yes, you can buy that with your salary, but then for the rest of the month, you're broke. So how much does that cost you emotionally, psychologically, the stress and the anxiety, anything that costs you your mental health is too expensive. So we have the exact same problems, and, people would rather have the latest car, a ride out there, than use that money as an investment for a deposit for a property. I done a podcast, and I said that I bought a house during lockdown, one of my properties out of London for 50k. Everybody was like hitting me up saying, wow, a lot of people are driving Range Rovers that cost 50k or more. And the money they're paying for the Range Rovers, so we're talking about the monthly repayment on the car, the tax, the insurance. Do you know what I mean? And what I'm paying on my my monthly mortgage is £290 a month. That's what my mortgage is, because I had to put a 25% deposit down on a buy-to-let property. I'm not sure if that's the same for the US on a buy-to-let property, that you have to put a larger deposit down. But people's monthly car note is like £500, £600 a month. That's just the car. And I'm paying £290 on a house that's paying for itself. Does it make sense? The house is paying, yes, I'm renting it out, it's paying for itself. The mortgage, the rent that I'm getting for the property is paying for the property, and I've got some for myself.
Man, that is amazing. So another thing I think when it comes to just how we conceptualize money, especially for Black people, a lot of Black people think that, white people and people from other races and cultures deal with money differently and handle money differently. And I don't know what the demographics of the people that you have in your office that you speak to, that you see, but just based on, I guess, what you see in the UK across races and cultures, do you find that there's a difference in how people think and view money and deal with money across races and culture?
Yeah, I think British English people, they are more, not frivolous, but carefree. Don't really have the regard. If I want it, I'm going to get it. Black people do, but I think that people from, they might hold on to it a little bit more longer before they do spend it. I mean, growing up in my household, my parents were from Jamaica. So my dad was always like, Norma, never ever rent a property. Because if you rent a property for 25 years and you don't pay your rent for 1 week, then we'll chuck you out. So that was a seed sown in my mind. And at the age of 21, I bought my first property. And I built my property portfolio from that. And so growing up in a Caribbean, household, what they taught us was go to school, get a good education, and save your money. I think that's as far the extent of what it was. I think in the British English, their parents was more likely to probably like help them with, getting on the property ladder and whatever. We as a culture is like, you better make it happen for yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You get out there and work and make that happen for yourself, where they was more inclined to help their children. I think my generation are more to help my children. But for like our parents, it was like, they had to do it themselves. There was nothing to give. I suppose them coming over from, the Windrush generation, they didn't really have much to give. But interestingly enough, they did buy their properties. A lot of the people that came over did buy. I think the ball got dropped somewhere in between a generation, and there was a lot of people that didn't buy properties. Now we're trying to get back on the property ladder. But there was a point where we wasn't really buying properties and that. Whereas I guess probably our English counterparts, they were, or they had help to do that.
I know in the United States as well, like part of the way that a lot of other cultures, I say a lot of from white people, from what I've seen, is like you mentioned, they do have a lot of help financially, grandmothers, grandfathers leaving wills, for them to establish some sort of wealth with life insurance and different things like that we, haven't really picked up on. And, we have a lot of us passing away that are leaving our families in debt, and they have to pay some of the things that, we didn't pay for while we were alive, instead of getting, those wills and those financial plans. Like, I see a lot of white families, they get where somebody passes away and they're not worrying about the finances, how they're going to pay for the funeral, or if there's going to be money for this and that and the third. It was all taken care of. So I think that is one thing I think we should definitely be taking from other cultures, is to leave behind a financial legacy. And like you just said, it's going on in the UK as well.
It really is. And, I've taken note. I've, got my will done. I've got a life insurance. I'm covered. And I was even thinking of paying into a funeral plan, so it wouldn't leave anything. Because these funerals are not cheap, right? I don't know about the US, but they are not cheap. And my accountant was saying, well, you've got a life insurance, so let your life insurance pay for the funeral, and what's left out of that, the children can have that, because I've got my properties right, so they will have properties anyway Do you know what I mean? So I've left a legacy that's already there that I'm just continuously building on. Even I've got a property for my grandchildren as well. I've got 2 grandchildren. So one of the properties is for them. So I've set them up already.
That is amazing, man. You're doing some amazing things. And I think these are the things that we need to kind of change the dynamics of how we see money and some of our experiences, it shouldn't be a struggle when you're just going into college at a young age and you're struggling financially because you don't have anything that's been put in place. Like, I think, we really got to look into these things, because college, you look at college across cultures, when I was in college, like some of the white students, they were getting money every week or every 2 weeks from parents, and they had money saved up, and they didn't have to work that many jobs or they did internships and different things like that. And it wasn't as stressful. So I think that stuff goes a long way and is super duper important. And for you, like you didn't just come up understanding financial literacy and knowing these things. So there was a process. So I really want to get into what your process was and how you developed your mindset of money and how you became financially literate. And I know as a psychologist, a lot of psychologists start with childhood, right? That's how people develop their adult mindset. So for you, like, what was your childhood like growing up? How did you see adults kind of dealing with money? And how did you learn about money? How did you gain your financial literacy?
Sure. So as I said about my dad, he was so back in the 50s when he was in Jamaica, he had 2 houses and a dry cleaners. When he then came to England, he bought the biggest house on the road. So I guess that's where I get my high chest from, right? That's why I like the best of everything. And so and then my mom on the other hand was completely the opposite. So there was 6 children. They had 6 children between them. And my dad was very frugal with his money. I'm sure he gave my mum the same amount of money for like a decade, and he wanted everything from that money. He wasn't interested in inflation or any of that. He just wanted, all his hard food and all of that, the yam, the green banana and all of that. And that wasn't cheap because it had to be imported, right? And my mum would say, Lord have his mercy, I've got to feed this man. And we feed him. But he wasn't interested in having any of those conversations. But my mum made it work. With the little money she had to buy our clothes. It even got to the point where she was making our own underwear. She had to buy our clothes, buy the shopping, pay the bills, do everything out of this same amount of money that my dad gave her for over a decade. Now, I know, looking back, it couldn't have been easy. It actually had to be a skill, right? To be able to manage all of that. And money management is a skill. It felt like we had everything. We lacked nothing. And that's why I know it must have been a skill. And that's one thing I really want to say to people out there that are parents. Whatever you're going through as a parent with your money challenges, try to not let your children be exposed to all of it. So, and what I mean by that, being a single parent, one day my daughter said to me, Mummy, I never, in her 20s, she said, I never knew that you struggled with the bills. Because when they was gone to bed, that was me with my notepad and pen writing out, calculating, doing whatever. Because, for example, if you're stressed and anxious and depressed about your financial situation, you're projecting that onto your children subconsciously. They become anxious and they become stressed. So I've worked in a school where children said, I'm stressed out. I said, what do you know about stress? What do you mean you're stressed? And they can articulate, we've not got much money at home. My mum's always stressed and crying about that she ain't got enough money to buy the shopping. And this is what you're exposing your children. And what you're doing is then they go on to, that's how they are. That's the relationship they have with their money. So, we don't mean to do it as parents, but sometimes we're not able to manage our emotions and we're exposing our children to far, far more than they should be exposed to.
I agree.
So going back to your question, so I saw my parents manage money from 2 different perspectives. My dad was frugal, but he gave his money an assignment. And he actualized that assignment down to the penny. My mum, on the other hand, had little money, but was very, very resourceful with it. As I said, we lacked nothing. So I gleaned from both of them what I felt I needed. And I used that as going forward and managing my money. So at the age of 30, I bought my first property at 20. By the age of 27, I had three children. I became a single mother at the age of 30. So I had three children, aged 6, 3, and 2. I had a mortgage to pay, a car to run, all on a part-time salary.
Wow.
And so exactly. I had a decision to make. Do I sink or do I swim? And I just reflected back to the times when my mum really made it work. I said, if my mum can do it with 6 children, I can do it with 3. And did it. I did. And I did it well. I not only survived, I thrived.
That is fascinating. I was thinking about the United States too. I mean, most people in the United States with 3 kids with a mortgage and car payment are not going to be able to just work part-time. They would have to have a full-time kind of job. Like, so how is that even a possibility that you work part-time and were able to take care of everything?
Sure. I mean, that was back in the 80s, right? 80s, early 90s. But I guess it's the same principle. And for me, it's about knowing your numbers. A lot of people don't know their numbers. And what do I mean by that? So I ran a financial boot camp, and I asked people prior to the boot camp to send me their, income and expenses. A lot of it is from the back of their head, plucking these figures out the air. When we actually get to the financial boot camp, they are hundreds of pounds out. Money, I find all their financial leakages, money going out left. You're swiping the card left, right, and you've got no regard. You're just guessing at these figures. And in the middle of the month, you've not got no money because you're not managing it. Because I had such small money, I had to give my money an assignment. And I allocated every pound and every penny. I used to shop in about 4 or 5 supermarkets every week to make sure I was able to buy everything we needed. And when people say, what does success look like to you, Norma? Well, that to me was success. Because, I knew where every pound and every penny was going. So, I wasn't going to, I micro budgeted for everything. So I micro budgeted for my shopping, for my toiletries, for my school dinner money, for the school uniforms. I micro budgeted for everything. If the truth be told, my mum helped me with some shopping. So, that, and she helped me with school dinner money. But the bills and everything was down to me. On top of that, I was able to fly my children out every year. Now, when I was working in the bank, people were saying, Norma, how do you manage to do this? Thankfully, my cash till balanced at the end of the day. Or else they'd be saying, you must be teething out the bank's money. Do you know what I mean? But every year we got a bonus from the bank. And I used that bonus to fly my children out on a holiday. Now, I could only afford 2-star or 3-star apartments. It wasn't hotels. So I had to obviously, bring most of our food, and my children's rucksacks were filled to the brim, not with electronic toys or dollies. It was shopping, rice, biscuits, crisps, just the stable food that we could bring with us. So when we got to our holiday destination, we only had to buy meat and vegetables. Why did I do that? People said, no, well, why did you use the money on a holiday? Why didn't you use it for savings? For me, I had my own property. So that was an asset, right? That was my mindset. All year round, I was trying to make ends meet, juggling with my shopping. I wanted to show my children, although we may not have had much, we could still have a quality of life.
That is powerful. That is powerful. Man, I mean, that is definitely special. I think that, your ability to just put all that together and thrive, not even survive, but thrive through everything and give your kids a good life is definitely to be applauded and should be studied. And speaking of being studied, this wonderful book right here, Think Like a Bank. So you've mentioned that part of your financial literacy was actually working in a bank and learning about the ins and outs of banks and how they deal with money and infusing some of those things into how you deal with money. So first off, why did you write this book, Think Like a Bank? And break that down for us exactly, because I think that a lot of us don't really know. Like, we think that a bank, is where you store your money and you take it out when you need to take it out. Like, we don't really know how a bank really functions. So can you really break that down for us and why you wrote your book?
Sure. Think like a bank. So a bank, the reason why I named it Think Like a Bank, because, you know, when you're dealing with your money, it's about your thought processes, right? And the bank's number one goal is to make a profit. And make a profit they do from people like you and me. And how do they make that profit? By the money that we invest in the bank, right? So that's our savings or investments that we make. And they use that money to then go and purchase what they want. So if they want to buy a new credit card, that's a financial product. They're using our money to buy what they need to buy. But then, for example, if you deposit £2,000 in your bank to save it, you're getting 1%, 2%, 3%, or whatever the percentage is at the moment with your bank interest. But if you borrow that money back, especially on a credit card, they're charging you 18.9, 24.7 for the same money. Can you imagine? So, for example, if you took out a credit card for £3,000 and a bank was charging you 21.9% interest for that card, and you was only paying the minimal payment every month, because that's what a lot of people do. That's all they can afford is a minimum payment every month. How long do you think it will take you to pay that card off? 28 years. And the interest you pay the bank for borrowing that money is £4,750. But if you was to then use that same credit card for £3,000 and you don't use any more money on that credit card, if you was to pay, so the minimum payment, say it's £80 a month. If you were to pay £80 every single month but not use that card again, that would take you 5 years to pay off that same loan, and you'd be paying £1,740 in interest.
What do you say to those that are like, all right, Norma, I get it. I understand what you're saying. I don't have the money to make extra payments and to bring that down. So, you know, me being able to take that money out from the bank and borrow that money is going to, you know, help me right now. I need this thing right now. I don't need it in 20 years or 10 years or whatever it is. So I can distribute that I'm okay with 20 years of paying something that I need to pay for right now.
Okay, so then the next thing is then, if you're going to borrow money, let's borrow the smart way. Again, think like a bank, 0% credit cards. And that's about getting and I work with people to get their credit score in a good place. And that takes time for some people where you're in a position to get a 0% credit card from the bank. And that's how I live my life to this day, using 0% credit cards. Credit cards are my best friends because you ain't borrowing it from a family or a friend. You ain't paying back no interest. You're using the bank's money to buy what you need. Like you said, if you need the money, if you need it right now, if you've got a 0% credit card, then that's doing it the smart way. It's about, you may want, because a lot of people think, I want this thing, I want it now. What is it that you really, is it a need or is it a want? That's what you need to check. A lot of the times it's a want more than a need. I understand if it's a need and you're not being able to get a 0% credit card, but this is the work that I do to financially educate you, to get you to a place where you can have that 0% credit card, because not only does it allow you to purchase what you want and then pay off in the agreed time scale, it can also act as your emergency fund. So, you know, we talk about emergency funds having 3 to 6 months of your salary. For some people that ain't got a penny, how is that going to happen? But again, if you've got a 0% credit card, so I really focus on helping people to get their credit right so they can get a 0% credit card, and you've got money on your credit card, that will be your emergency fund, right? That will be able to get you out. If it's a car that's broke down or your washing machine that's broke down, you can use your 0% credit card. You're not paying any extra interest for that purchase. And then you can take your time to pay back that money.
That makes sense. All right. So just like, I know you deal with a lot of different personal experiences of people with their money and things like that. And let's say like I grew up in a state of financial trauma. My parents were always complaining about money and didn't really know where the next payment for the bill was going to come from, and mortgage and everything. And it was always a stressful thing. And now I've carried this stress and anxiety about money on within my life, and my money management is not that great. Has to do a lot because of that. How do I begin to tackle these issues and to begin to rethink in a positive way about money?
Financial therapy is definitely needed, there for that, because you've been exposed to all of those traumas. And with traumas, they need to be worked through because they're within you, right? They're either in your subconscious or your conscious. And anything can trigger them at any point in time. So if it's not, if it's an impact in your well-being, your quality of life, those traumas have to be worked through. And I'll give you an example. Now, there was one client I was working with. He was so angry. He was fighting back the tears because of that anger. And what had happened was that he grew up where his mum, after their evening meal, she used to lock the kitchen door. And then in the morning, I don't know what happened, but he said he used to go to school hungry. So I don't know if the kitchen door was still locked. And as a result, he was so angry with his mum. His relationship with his mum had broken down. And as a result, he just used to spend money frivolously because he's got it, he's got to spend it. He's in a relationship now, and that's affecting him and his partner because she's saying to him, why are you spending this money you're spending money we haven't got, and then you're borrowing it from me. And, after he told me that story, I said, well, can you not see what has happened in your past and it's now affecting your future? I said, I know you're so angry with your mum, but I think a conversation needs to be had with your mother. For one, you need to understand why she did it. I'm not saying what she did was right, but it may not have been intentional to be wicked or to be spiteful. It may be learnt behavior. It may be what she had been exposed to help preserve the food in the house, so that everybody wasn't going in the kitchen just to eat and there'll be nothing left. It may be her way of managing the food in the house. I said, so you need to go back and ask your mum why she did it. Because for where he was coming from, she's a wicked woman and look what she done to me and da-da-da-da. But you need to understand what was going on for your mother and how it has impacted you. So through therapy, because there was so much anger and unforgiveness, through therapy, just exploring that and, working through that, he was able to go back and ask his mum. And it was because that's what her mum used to do to her, for her family. And the mum was quite positive about it. She said, that's what we did. And that's why we always was able to have an evening meal. That's how, and he was able to share with her how he felt and what it has done to him. But at least he had understanding of why he was the way he was with his money and have that conversation with his girlfriend. And then he was able to start working on his finances.
I think that is powerful, especially because a lot of people don't combine therapy with, money management and money ideology. So I think that you're bringing that to the table and being able to really seek those type of solutions from that standpoint is important. And I think something that we can all, learn from in practice. So from just another side of the spectrum, maybe you've had a client like this, an entitlement mentality, but doesn't have the money to back up that entitlement mentality. I deserve to have nice things. I deserve to go out on vacation every month, every year, whatever it is. Regardless of whether I can afford it or not. I got one life to live. You only live once. I got to enjoy myself. Money doesn't, money is just money. It's not even real. Like, I want to enjoy my life, but they're not doing well financially. Like how do they restructure their mind state to be able to deal with that idea? I know you mentioned in your book too, like lions don't eat grass, right? So you've mentioned too that, people should be able to get nice things and this and that and the third, but how do you find that balance and what is your mind state? What should your mind state be like so that you don't overindulge?
For sure. I mean, there was one client I was working with and he was flying out his girlfriend to Paris for lunch. But then after that, he's coming into my consulting room, all depressed and stressed out, saying, he's got a good job, he's earning good money, he can't understand where his money's going to. It's like there was disconnection. It's like, are you crazy? You don't know where your money's going to. Do you know what I mean? And so I get that entitlement. mentality. And I say to people, being a single parent, I really didn't want to, some people they had to live on beans on toast or no. I was a single parent. We was eating proper food every day. Chicken. If I bought a chicken and I roasted it on Sunday, then we'd have some of that chicken on Monday. Come Tuesday, I'd slice off some of that chicken and make chicken fried rice. Do you know what I mean? I'm making it work for us to have wholesome meals. So I don't believe in you have to scrimp back, but it's doing it the right way. For example, being financially educated, using your credit. If you're going to use credit, have a 0% credit card, or get your finances in order that you can get that 0% credit card. So it's not affecting you. I'm not saying don't have this and don't have that, but you have to understand. People don't understand money. And they don't understand how money should be used. So, I work with a lot of millennials, and I've got 3 millennials myself. They want to all live that Instagram lifestyle, right? But at the detriment of their mental health. Because yes, for a woman, she has to get the hair on, she has to get the eyelashes, the nails, the outfit. Then they're not even, the Uber to the venue, to the restaurant, and they're not going to McDonald's or whatever, Wendy's. They're going to the high end. So all of that costs money, and that could be a big chunk of your salary. So when everything's gone out, a week later, you're broke, busted, and disgusted. Just stressed out, and you don't know what to do. That's all this mindset mentality, entitlement mentality. So I say to them, I'm not saying don't do what you're doing, but let's get this education of what you need to do to live that lifestyle.
And then for them, like, how do I budget myself, without having to eat grass, as you would say?
Okay, so it's a budgeting is combined of skills and techniques. If it was just as simple as your income and expenditure, everybody would be doing it and there wouldn't be an issue, right? And that's what my boot camp is. I take them through the skills and techniques. There's layers to budgeting to get it right. So you can identify when you have a functioning budget, a budget that really is showing you exactly what's happening with your money, where it's going, when it's going, how it's going. You are now financially empowered, because empowerment is about control, being in control. And that's why I help you, take control, because people ain't got control of their money. They're using it they have no regard of how they're using their money. They've got no plan, financial plan, no structure. So it's chaotic. And so, getting taking order of your money. Once you know exactly where your money's going and where you're assigning your money to, you're in control of it. You'll have that financial peace, regardless of if you have a little bit of money or a lot of money.
Thank you for that. In your book, you mentioned that there's an issue with people that just rely solely on their salary, right? So can you break that down? What exactly do you find the issue with people relying on their salary? And what should they be looking at as opposed to just salary? Sure.
So, we know in this day and age, most people's salaries is not going to cut it, right? It's not enough. It's not working for them. So therefore, we have to start now thinking outside the box. How can I generate another form of income? Yeah. And it's different things for different people. Look at your daughter. She's already talking about a source of income, right? And, sometimes it don't have to be something great. If you're a cook and everybody's coming around, you're good at cooking, everybody's coming around your house every week for the what's on the menu, you better put a price to it. If you're somebody that's always giving out, somebody comes to you as an agony aunt and they're coming to you for advice and information, listen, you're a consultant, you better put a price on it. Whether that's your friends or family or you're doing it outside of it, you need to put a value on who you are, what you are, and what you can give. And you'll be surprised at what how you can make money from that. So, you're 9 to 5. If you're a teacher, you might be able to do some lessons online to earn extra money. People don't want to do this extra work. It's going to take work. It's not going to come down from the sky and drop in your lap. Your daughter's not just sitting there. If she wants this extra money, she's literally got, like you said, how long has it taken you to make those bracelets? Do you know what I mean? And this is what the mindset we have to, start from a very young age. If like my children, when I was flying them out every year, one time I said to my son or my daughter, "Can you make me a cup of tea?" They're like, "Oh, mommy didn't." I'm thinking, what? I'm flying you out every year. I said, "What?" From that day, I said, "This can't work. This is not working." So I used to I taught them how to cook from a very young age. I used to have to iron 15 shirts a week. For 3 children, 5 days a week. That's 15 shirts. I said, not anymore. I used to make them iron their own shirts. And it might have been a bit buff. And when they went to bed, I'd go over it and make sure it was right. But I was teaching them, to hoover and whatever. And they had to earn their money. And that would be their spending money for the holiday. So that it all requires some form of work. You can't just sit there and think, I've not got enough money. I know. But then on the other end of that, some people are just so emotionally drained. They do not have the physical capacity to earn money. And that's very difficult. But the answer is, it may be then you've got a house, you've got a drive. Can you rent out your drive? You've got an extra room. It might not be forever. It might just be for 6 months just to get yourself back on track. Do you know what I mean? Can you double up with somebody or double up, do something that you can, make another room for, you to be able to rent out. Is there something that you can cook, that you can deliver to people or whatever, or people can come to you? There are ways to generate more money. And then my assets, so my properties, they're paying for themselves. I've got a house in Miami now. It's paying for itself.
Yeah, that is a great point. I think a lot of people don't think about things outside of salary that they can do, their skills, the things that they're good at, like you just mentioned, that can bring some sort of income to the table. But sometimes people do, and sometimes people will get a second job. And then they're like, I got a second job, I'm making extra income, but it's still not enough. Let me get this third job. So they get a third job and it's still not enough. What is the psychology around some of these people that get the extra income, but it still ends up not being enough, regardless of whether you're making the extra income or not, from when you started before? So I get a second job, third job, or side hustle, or whatever it is, and I'm still at the same spot, regardless of how much more money I'm making.
Didn't I say 80% of it mindset, 20% the money? So I've had people that said, "Norma, I need another second job. This money is not enough." And they've come to my financial boot camp. I've taken them through the detailed process. A boot camp, you're going to work. The money's there. It's been managed badly. It's not managed properly. So it don't matter how much money you get, if you're still going to be, you're not managing it properly, or you're going to be, you earn that more, you spend that more. As soon as they start earning more money, they spend more money. No, it's about, for me, it's so important to have a good quality of life, but the smart way, the right way, knowing how to manage your money and manage your wealth. And my motto is, it's not what you have, it's what you do with what you have. Because somebody in my same position, being a single parent with 3 children, having the same money that I had, may not have been able to do the same that I did. Do you know what I mean? And it wasn't I had a lot of money, it's what I did with the little money that I had. So it's financial education, as well as, what are the psychological traumas? What has gone on? What has been your experience, your early experience and exposure to money? Are those blockages, barriers that are impacting how you are with your money and how you see your money?
Those are great points. Earlier, we had mentioned the whole concept of people that win the lotto or get money all of a sudden. So we do have people, within our society, let's say, professional athletes or people that come across money left over from family, life insurance or whatever it is. And now you go from struggle to all this money. And again, you say that there's a lot of stories where they lose that money within a year, within 2 years, within 3 years. So if my financial literacy is lacking and I just come across this money, whether it be I become a professional athlete, or I get this life insurance money, or whatever it is, my business starts to be booming, how do I kind of maneuver my money? The money's there already, and I don't have the information or the education to be able to spend it properly. Where do I get that from? How do I?
The first thing you do is you seek financial help, whether there's a financial advisor, a money management consultant, before you spend 1 penny of that money. You need to get some financial advice as well as, but more importantly, because obviously in the work that I do, I speak to a lot of financial advisors and whatever, and they say, Norma, I set these plans for these people. We've got financial goals, and we've got to do this, and they're so happy with whatever I've set up for them. And so many of them do not actualize it. And they're saying, what is it? What is the missing link? The missing link is the psychology of money, which is more important than the finances itself.
All right. Speaking of that, there's different forms of money in regards to how we think about it. So I just wanted to just go over some of those concepts, and you could share how you think people should be thinking about it. What's a positive way to think about it? I don't know too many people that don't have debt. Debt is something that I think that throughout the course of your life, you're going to probably deal with. How do I manage that psychologically well to be able to get to a good point with my debt or pay it off or whatever it is without it being this elephant in the room?
First and foremost, it's knowing what the figure of your debt is. A lot of people work on assumptions. They don't know the actual figures. They know it's maybe 3,000 or 4,000. And then when we start doing the work, you find out it's 7,000 or what. Do you know what I mean? Knowing your numbers again. Because I give this analogy. If you was going on a car journey with your friends and your petrol gauge didn't work. Now you've told them that the petrol gauge doesn't work. What impact or effect do you think it would have on your friends?
So you said if the petrol didn't work? And you
the petrol gauge that shows you how much petrol is in the tank. If that wasn't working, you're going on a long distance journey. Most of it's motorways, right? So there's not going to be many petrol stations available. How do you think that would impact somebody? It would make you feel, oh my gosh, are we going to get there safely?
Yeah, be stressed out.
Gauge is not going to tell us, when it's going down, the petrol's going down, that we need to fill up. So that journey would cause anxiety. It'd be a bit stressful. You won't be able to enjoy you playing your music. You won't be all like that. Could it be, oh my gosh, halfway, an hour into that journey, you'd be quite anxious, right? That journey. But that same said journey that you're going on with your friends, that the petrol gauge does work. You know how much petrol's in it. You can see when the petrol gauge is going down, that when you need to fill up, how would that journey be?
Smoother. I got it now. I can see it. Yeah.
Peaceful. You've got nothing to worry about. You can see, okay, right, we're getting low. We need to top up. Same thing with your money. If you don't know how much money you've got or the situation of your money, it's going to be so stressful. It's going to cause so much anxiety. And a lot of time it's for no reason, or it's not, you're stressing over more than what you should be. It's because you don't know.
All right. So I have to have an understanding and knowledge of the debt, and how am I going to go about it?
That's right. Definitely. That will help. That will keep you, not give you peace, but at least you will understand, because once you understand your debt, then you can then start working on a plan of how you're going to start paying that off. It's all about planning in the planning.
What about, how should I be thinking about spending my money? I think if we track a lot of people, we make a very emotional decisions and quick decisions on how we spend money. We see something at the store we like, we get it. We see some nice shoes or whatever on our way to wherever, we stop and get it. Or we're with our kids and they want something and they throw it in the cart and we get it. So what is a positive way to think about spending money? I
talk about this in my book, right? I'm sure you must have read it, about the prefrontal cortex and the limbic system. These are two areas of the brain that are associated with spending money and other things in life. And just breaking it down simply, the prefrontal cortex, I call that the responsible adult. That's the part of the brain that helps you to make informed decisions. So, for example, if you see those shoes and you're not really got the money to pay for it, that battle's taking place in your mind. Should I get it? Should I not get it? Should I get it? And then you decide not to get it. The prefrontal cortex has won that battle, and you have made informed, positive decision. On the other hand, the limbic system is like the impulsive part of the brain. That's where a lot of us function, right? We see something, we want to get it. You're on the internet, you see a Caribbean cruise before you blink. You've booked it up, you use a card to book it up and without a fault, not knowing how you're going to pay it off. And then, oh my God, I've booked this cruise, I've not got any money, I've used all the money on my card. So what's happening in our brains is there's a constant conflict, is a constant battle that is happening all the time with regards to spending. Now you have that information, it's not just me, or I can't stop spending or whatever. Something psychologically is taking place. The next time a situation like that happens, in terms of you want to spend, you want to get something that you shouldn't be getting, take a step back and say, it's an aha moment, right? I know what's going on here. There's a battle taking place. And I'm going to, do the right thing. And once, you understand that's happening in your mind, you're more, you have a better chance of making the right decision. The more you use your prefrontal cortex, it's like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes, and it will dominate that limbic system that's been controlling your emotions and your impulses and making you spend and getting racking up all this debt.
Thank you for that. What about saving money? How should I be thinking? What's a positive way to think about that?
Sure. A lot of people feel they've not got no money to save. A lot of people think, I can't even pay my bills. How can I even save? And what I say to people is, it's not about the amount, it's about the practice. So even if it's $10 or $5, you set up that account and you start putting your $5 and you automate it, right? You don't say, oh, I'm going to put it in when I get paid. No, you set up an automation from your bank to your savings account so it goes before you have a chance to eat. Because if you don't give your money an assignment, that money will have its own assignment. So you set up that savings account and, £5, whatever you can afford at the time. And as things change in life, you change with it. So if things get better financially, set up that, just increase that automation. And I would advise everybody to save, even your children. It's not about the amount, it's about the practice. That's what your mindset should be.
Got it. What is a healthy way to think about investing?
Right, people say you shouldn't invest anything that you can't afford to lose. But investments is, hopefully the investment that you're doing is about helping your money to compound, which means obviously it's growing. Every time you're saving, it's growing exponentially, as opposed to just a normal savings account where you get a little bit of interest. Do you know what I mean? So I think that with investing, I definitely seek advice, financial advice, before you spend a penny in investment. But yes, once you've got your savings, you're going to set yourself a financial goal, right? And once you feel like you've got to that goal, then I would say take some of that money and then start investing it. But it's always good to have a bit of money for a rainy day. Investment is the next level up.
Another thing too is budgeting. I think budgeting is one of those things that a lot of people struggle with, including myself. So what is a healthy way to think about budgeting, where you're not suffering, you're not like, you have this mindset of like, well, if I budget and I don't buy my coffee from Starbucks every day, then it's like, I'm going to be suffering because I love that coffee and it gets me through my day or whatever it is. Like, there's this suffer mindset, I think, that comes along with having to budget that people really struggle with, actually, like, counting how much they're saving, they're spending, and how to use that money properly. So what's a healthy way of thinking about budgeting?
See, budgeting, again, like I said, being a single parent, I didn't want to compromise on anything, which I didn't. And as I said, it took me work that I used to be shopping around in X amount at the supermarkets to get what I had, because I saw my mum do that. So we lacked nothing. So why should you really go without just because you're budgeting? Budgeting is, let me tell you, every financial tycoon has some form of budget. They know where every pound and every penny is going. It's not about scrimping and scraping. It's about being in control of what you have. Now, in the UK, in our bank accounts, they have a budgeting service that's built into our bank accounts. And so it shows you exactly where your money's going, what areas your money's going into. So it may show you that you're spending X amount of money in a certain area. It shows you when and you can set like goals in certain areas. Like, say you say Starbucks, I don't want to spend more than £20 in Starbucks. It will show you when you've spent $15 in Starbucks, showing you when you're nearly getting to, do you know what I mean? So there's a way of having control over your money. For people who don't have a budget, I feel, like I said, they just giving themselves unnecessary anxiety and stress. Like my car analogy, not knowing, what's happening, when it's going to happen. When you have a budget, you know what you can spend and how you can spend it. And I go back to Starbucks, in the UK, I'm sure in the US as well, you have in the supermarkets, you can buy your Starbucks from the supermarket, the packets, put them in your drawer and you get in the Starbucks cups, just go to the hot water the vending machine and put the hot water in. It's the same thing, half the price. Let's be smart with your money, right? You shouldn't be less than nothing. It's about being smart. And I teach people how to be smart. I'll quickly give you an example. I mean, I love high-end things. I love nice things, but I'm smart with my money. I'm thinking about thinking like a bank, how to make a profit, how to make my money work for me. So I was going to, I think, Bali one year, and I went into a big department store called Selfridges in the UK, and I saw a bag that I wanted to buy. And then I had that aha moment, the limbic system and the prefrontal cortex. I really wanted to buy it there and then. But I said, hold on a minute, I can probably get that bag duty free. I said, let me check with the airport. So I phoned up the airport. Lo and behold, they had my bag and it was $500 cheaper. Can you believe it? So I booked my bag, got to the airport. I got a personal shop. I felt like a celebrity. Anyway, I bought my bag, £500 cheaper. What did I do with that £500? I used £200 to make an overpayment on one of my mortgages. I used another £200 to pay for a holiday. I found an all-inclusive 4-star holiday to Morocco for £199. I had £100 left, and I used that other $100, I should say, to go towards my spending money for that holiday I was going on. So I not only bought my high-end bag, I made an overpayment on my mortgage, I got another holiday, and I had £100 to go towards my spending money. Is that not making your money work for you?
Absolutely. Man, I think that is definitely making your money work and just going above and beyond with just how you're thinking about money and doing the right things. What do you say to people that's like, yo, like, Norma, all these things sound great, but I don't have time to just sit down and think about money and do all these things. It's stressful. I don't even like talking about money, really. Like, I don't really have time to do these things. And maybe I do need to go and look for, a financial advisor and things like that. And some people are kind of against getting a financial professional because they feel like they're going to give their money to a financial professional, and a large amount of their money is going to go to that. So what do you say to people that's like, these sound good, but I don't have time to really sit down and budget and think about money and figure out this and figure out that like the way that you do? I
would say to them people, do you go on holiday? How do you get to work? I mean, all of these things we've got to plan. When you're going on a holiday, you've got to sit down and plan. Do you know what I mean? But people don't want to sit down and plan about money, which is such an integral part of our lives. Just because we wasn't taught it in school, and I think that's intentional as well, to keep people in their certain classes, it doesn't mean to say it's something that we don't have to study. If you're going to be complaining about your money, it's just like you're in a relationship, right? You're complaining, my partner's this, that, and the other. If you're not going to sit down and try and work things out, then stop complaining. That's what I would say. In order for things to change, you need to make a change. My mind is just blown. I work with so many couples, and they come to me for financial therapy. And the first thing I ask them is, what is your psychology of money? It's like they look at me like I'm green. They don't have do you know what I mean? They have no clue of what I'm talking about. So then I go through that with them. If you don't understand your own psychology of money, and what is that? It's your beliefs, which influence your thoughts that influence your actions. If you don't understand what your personal psychology of money is, and then go on to ask your partner what their psychology of money is, and you're moving in together, you're getting married, you're buying property, you've not had this conversation that should have been had very early on in your relationship. From the point that you decided to, take this relationship serious, this conversation should have been had, because it would have solved prevented a lot of the problems that I'm seeing in my office. So it's something that needs to be addressed. It's a conversation. As much as it might be uncomfortable and stressful, it's better than you arguing and cussing one another out further on down the line, because you've got all these money issues that nobody knows what the other person's doing. Understand, like that couple, that guy I told you about with his mum and the food. You need to understand what has happened and how has that affected you, and how is it now affecting our relationship. You may want to avoid it, but it will come back to bite you in the butt. Excuse my language. If you don't address it, if you ain't got time, it's just, I make finances fun. I really do. I turn your financial fear into financial fun. I know it's heavy. That's why I break it down and make it as simple and accessible as possible. I only work with people's personal finance. I don't work with investments, because working with people say, "No, how can I invest?" And I say to them, wanting to invest without understanding your own personal finance and your own personal money management is like trying to take your GCSEs, trying to take your A levels before your GCSEs. You're setting yourself up to fail, right? So as much as you might not want to sit down and work it out, it's something that you need to have financial peace. You will never have financial peace if you don't take out the time to do it.
Great point. So in your book on page 82, you say that people should ask themselves these important questions. So one of them is, what if I lose my job? What if they became ill and couldn't work? What if their relationship broke down? What if they had a rainy day? What do you think is the significance of people answering those questions? And have you had to answer those questions yourself? And what were some of your answers?
These things, so what you've just described are unexpected events, which happen to each and every one of us at some point in our lives. People do lose their jobs. People do get ill. Relationships do break down. You know, these are things that at some point in our lives, we're all going to experience one of them, some of them, or all of them. And it comes back to your emergency fund. If my relationship was to, because you've heard of cases where people have been in relationships, even marriages, where they've let one person take control of all their finances and everything. And then when the relationship breaks down, they have no clue. It's like they're having an emotional breakdown because they don't know where they stand, how they're going to manage or whatever. And I bring it back to healthy relationships. These are conversations that people in relationships with themselves or a partner should ask themselves on a monthly or even a quarterly basis. If I was to be made redundant next month, what would that look like for me? What can I put in place? What do I need to put in place to be able to still manage and cope? If my relationship was to break down, your partner might be the breadwinner or you're the breadwinner, but you're still getting something from them. How would that affect my life, my lifestyle, my family, my home? These are so important questions. And once you've answered them, then the next step is, what action do I need to take? So as I said, I was with my children's father, and then I became a single parent with a mortgage, a car to run, all on a part-time salary. Prior to that, I didn't ask them questions because that was way back then. But now I'm continuously asking my questions. What would my finances look like if I was to lose my job? What would if I was to become unwell? What have I got in place for that? Do you know what I mean? It's something, if you're in a relationship with yourself, let me sit back and ask myself, what would that look like for me? What would the impact? It's so, so important. Don't be one of them people that it catches you unawares, because each and every one of us, as I said, will experience some form of an unexpected event at some point in our lives.
Yeah, I agree. I think those are super important, especially because I think comfort prevents the thought of thinking about these things. When you're comfortable in your job, you think you're going to have your job forever, and you're tenured at the job, and you're like, there's no way I can get fired, and things happen. You know what I mean? You're comfortable in your relationship, you're married, you found the perfect person, you find out they're cheating or whatever. And it's like, things change real quickly.
Falls apart, right? And this is something that needs to be thought about, talked about in season and out of season. And what do I mean by that? When things are good and when things are bad, it's something that needs to be. So you know that if this was to happen, you don't have to panic or have a meltdown. Actually, I've got this in place.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? To help me with this, navigate my way through this challenging time. It's a healthy mindset. It's not a negative thing to think about. It's healthy. It's positive. It's empowering.
I agree. So we mentioned earlier that, most people are financially illiterate, and obviously it's a process of the school system not teaching that. So it's upon us to really teach that. So I wanted to know from your own standpoint, at what age do you think kids should really start learning financial literacy, and what exactly should it be composed of?
The age that children should learn financial literacy is from the age that they can say the word money, from as early as that. Because children are very smart. Your 3-year-old or 2-year-old can be asking you, can I have a lolly? Can I have a this? Can I have that? That costs money. How are we going to afford what you want? Do you understand the value of money? They know the price of everything, but the value of nothing. So as early as possible, get them doing little chores, making their bed up, or, anything that you feel has a value to what you're teaching them. You're teaching them, this is what you need to do in able to have money. And the savings accounts out there for children, again, get that automated. This is what we'll give you for pocket money. How much of that do you think should go into your savings? Do you know what I mean? Or, you can tell them how much you think, or, give them the autonomy to think about how much they because I don't know about your daughter or your children, but they don't want to spend a penny of their own money. They want to spend your money, right? Yep. Exactly. So they know about money. They're not silly. They're not too small to think about. So from as early as they can say the word money, or they start, they're wanting things that cost money, then that's when you start teaching them about money. And what does that consist of? Budgeting. So, okay, you're going to get $2 for making up your bed and $1 for this. How much do you think you should save of that money to buy your trainers or whatever? And how much do you spend on yourself? So that's budgeting and saving. And then, at the end of the week or the end of the month, let's look at, everything you've done, write it all down, list it like you would do your income and your expenses, and, in a childlike way that they understand. And, let's see where your money is going. And let them be able to add it up. I mean, there's got some great children's apps we have in the UK. They should have that in the UK. Do you have 0% back? I mean, I've just looked at a few banks like Wells Fargo. They have 0%. A lot of people don't know about 0% credit cards. Do you know about 0% credit cards?
Yes. But like you mentioned before, you have to have good credit to be able to qualify for that.
That's right. And if you haven't got good credit, that is the next part of your money management that you need to be working on and focusing on. And it can turn around quite quickly, that, your credit score, in order, because all you need to do is be able to get one credit card. And then it just goes on from there once you start using it correctly.
Great points. I'm going to need you to write a children's book, Norma, on financial literacy.
Sure. Talk about the children.
Yes. We need that. We need that, for parents, for schools, everything, man. That would be amazing.
Yeah, because in the UK, so we have these apps for children, and there's one called Go Henry, and it gives the parents the control over where their children spend their money. It gives them a little card they use for the ATM. It shows them, when they've spent their money. It gives the parents full coverage of what they're doing with their card and what they're doing with them. You can put a certain amount on the cap on how much you want them to spend. It's giving them an idea of the concept of unconsciousness of money management.
Great points. There's a little trend that I'm noticing in the US. I don't know if it's happening in the UK, but a lot of banks now are beginning to teach financial literacy. They're partnering with schools. And they're doing some different things along with financial literacy. I wanted to know your gauge on what that, like, if that should be trusted, what you think about that. Because in my view, like, if the banks are trying to make money from people, why are they teaching people about money? It's something to really, like, that I've been thinking about and seeing, like, is this really legit? Are they giving legit information? What is I guess other than some of them, what I've seen that they do is that they allow, like, some of the students to start bank accounts with their bank. So I guess that's like the major benefit. So what do you think about banks that are using this approach now where they're like, we want to teach financial literacy to the community now, and let's go to the schools and we can come to your school for free and, open up an account for your child or whatever it is? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Like you said, nothing is free. They have their goals. So yes, obviously that's another way of them getting customers, right? Because whoever signs up becomes a customer. And normally customers go throughout the whole of the family, whether it starts with the child and the parents or the parents with the child. Your whole family is all like, you may use that same bank to bank with. So that's where they're, do you know what I mean, getting their customers. But I do feel that it is genuine. Since like the financial crash 2008, there was a lot about bad publicity with regards to banks, and a lot of people are now raising the concern that people are lacking financial literacy and it should be taught in schools. So I think they're trying to do their bit, but obviously their goal is for you to be a customer. But I mean, at the same time, they are trying to educate people around finances. So it is something to be trusted, because it's just personal finance that they're teaching you. They're not saying, they might tell you about investments, but they're not saying make investments. You're too young to make an investment anyway. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I definitely think it is something to be trusted, and I need to be part of that myself, to be honest with you, with my own program, And I guess, if it is a case that, you don't feel like you can trust the financial institutions, people like myself, there are independent people that are going into schools and universities, and that's what I'd love to be able to do. In fact, I'd love to be able to work with say new money, footballers and people like that get this money. And that's a part of the work that I'm working on at the moment. They get this money, they have no idea of how to manage it, and they get the cars, the clothes, the women and all the rest of it, and boom, before they blink, the money has gone. And then this is where they become suicidal. And I deal with so many, because the come down is hard. It's a bang. Do you know what I mean? And they've got that status and they feel so shamed and embarrassed because of where they are. Do you know what I mean? The transition from where they was to where they are now. And I think in all those clubs that they've got, the MBA and the financial boot camps should be part of that process, so they don't fall hard, because when they fall hard. And psychologically, like I said, everybody has some kind of has a psychology of money. It's an individual thing, but everybody has some exposure and experience to childhood money management practices, whether it's positive or negative, and that really needs to be addressed, especially for new money, people with new money. So if you know any MBA people or whatever, you give them my name and number. I'd love to be able to work with them, because especially in our community, like we say, they want to get the cars and all of that. No properties. And even if they're getting properties, they're renting them. Are you crazy? You'd think you'd get that money, bam, pay off for that property, bam, pay off for another one, and rent it out and let it make its money for you.
I agree, man. Maybe we'll get you involved in MasterMine University as well, man. So.
Sure, definitely. Even some people say if you've got like 200 grand, use that to buy 4 properties and, 50 grand each on each property. And then, if you can get the mortgage, depending on your, your financial situation, and then the properties pay for themselves.
Absolutely. I think
make that money work.
If we had these people in our society, these celebrities and professional athletes, if they had financial literacy, like the impact it would have on the Black community would be monumental.
It'd be amazing. But I keep going back to, it's more than financial literacy. It's the psychology of money. That 80%, that is what is real needed. Because when you talk to some people and you hear their stories about their relationship with money and how it's impacted them, some of them are not even conscious about it. It's only till you start having that conversation and, they start exploring it. They start connecting and making, oh my gosh, this is why I'm the way I am with money.
Yes. Yeah, man, we might have to do a part 2 of this, man, because talk to you about money all day. Before we wrap up, I just want to get into a quick little activity called What's Your Favorite? Just identifying a few of your favorite things. So you can elaborate if you want, or you can keep it short and simple. So what are your favorite books on money and financing?
My favorite book on money to this date still is Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. The things he talks about, again, it goes back to mindset. Yeah, the rich dad's mindset and the poor dad mindset, and look at the difference in the outcomes. So that's why, getting your mind right, you'll get your money right. The Psychology of Money as well. That's another good book. But the Rich Dad, Poor Dad is my go-to book all the time. as well as think like a bank.
Absolutely. We got it.
Wow.
Yes. What is your favorite method of saving money? Your favorite method of saving money?
The favorite method of saving money is we call it an ISA. That's an individual savings account. It's a tax-free savings account, and you're allowed to save up to £20,000 per year, and tax-free without it being taxed.
Your favorite method of spending money?
Making it work for me. Like I talked about my handbag, and I got the holiday and everything out of that handbag, making my money work for me.
I got to ask about favorite method of investing. There's a lot of ways to invest. What's your favorite?
Well, my favorite way of investing, what did I have for that? Buying assets.
Gotcha. All right. Favorite lesson that you've learned about money?
Is that money is a tool that can obviously enhance your life, but it doesn't make you happy. It doesn't it can help you improve your quality of life and whatever, but internal happiness comes from within. And a lot of people really feel that don't have money think that money does make them happy, but when they get that money, they know that a lot of times it makes them unhappy, right? You know, you win the lottery, your family wants the money, and people are asking you for this money left, right and centre. The moment you say no, you've got enemies and whatever, so it becomes a burden as opposed to a blessing, you know? So I know that money doesn't completely make you happy.
Yes. Favorite life experience that you had with money and favorite life experience without money?
Favorite life experience that I had with money is that I made it work for me with the little I had, and I felt like I was financially successful.
Okay. All right.
The other part of the question was?
So with money and without money. So let's say like without money, you had a party or whatever, or you had a time with family or whatever. With money, maybe you went on a vacation.
So without money, my favorite time was having my children. That didn't cost me money. In England, it don't cost you. It's priceless. You can't put a price on that.
All right. What's your favorite way of making money?
Assets.
Okay.
Assets, because my assets pay for my lifestyle. Instead of buying a car outright, my assets, the money that I get back from that, I will save that and use that to buy my car.
Gotcha. Favorite item that you've bought with money? Favorite item?
Favorite item? There's quite a few, but I would say my houses for sure.
Okay. All right. And then last one, your favorite life gem. So something valuable somebody said to you about life. So your favorite life gem.
Yeah. Nelson Mandela once said, I never lose in life. I either win or I learn.
That is powerful. All right. So as we wrap up, of course, we got to talk about legacy. And your story, I think, is very powerful of just not having and figuring it out and being able to establish something for yourself and for your family, and obviously a strong legacy behind that, even with your book and everything. So when it's all said and done, what is the legacy that you want to have, and what do you want to be remembered for?
I want to be remembered for helping people to understand their psychology of money, because this is where it all starts. I'll be the person that has helped people with the intersection of money and mental health. You can't separate the two. The two go hand in hand. So when you think of Norma and you think of Think Like a Bank, you think of this is the woman that has found the secret weapon to managing your money and your mental health and your quality of life.
Powerful. I think you already left us with your favorite quote, but we usually ask our guests to leave us with their favorite quote. Is that Nelson Mandela quote?
Yeah, it's Nelson Mandela for real. I never lose. I either win or I learn something about what I just done.
How do people in the United States get in contact with you if they're curious about money, or maybe virtually want you to speak at an institution or a school or whatever it is? How do they reach you?
Right. So my Instagram handle is the name of my book, think.like.a.bank. And I've got a website, which is my name. It's Norma Cassius, Cassius spelled C-A-S-S for Sierra, I for Indigo, U for Uniform, S for Sierra, normacassius.com. Just go to my website, go to the contact page, send me a message, and I'll get back to you.
There it is. You could also cop the book.
Yes.
Think Like a Bank.
Amazon, Think Like a Bank.
Yes, it is on Amazon. It's not too expensive. It's an easy read. And definitely a great manual for someone that's trying to become financially literate and get a good understanding, and obviously the emotional component, psychological component of money as well, which I think is very powerful. So we are going to be waiting patiently on the children's book that's coming out soon.
Sure.
Listeners, definitely support the work that Norma is doing. Get a copy of the book. And check out some of her work, her website. And again, if you need anything financially, psychologically, you can hit up her website. And of course, remember, your mind is the most powerful tool in the universe. If you can think it, you can do it. If you believe in it, you can be it. And if you fight for it, you can have it. The world is yours. This has been your host, Mr. G, and I will see you next time on MasterMind.
So every day I'm going hard. I'm talking business, bank accounts, and credit cards. And somehow we